Belittle, banned. Winter's Wail, banned. Amulet of Ice, suspended. Hypothermia, suspended. Well, that last video aged like a slice of cheese left in a book at the library. Was not expecting that crazy of sweeping changes to happen to the format. Yikes. Well, I guess let's get into my thoughts on the ban list. My biggest thing about all of this was I'm really surprised that they went with this big of a shakeup ban when, like, looking forward, we've got two callings and two battle hardens, and that's the only things affected by this for competitive play, because the Pro Tour is going to be the new set. So I was really not expecting anything to happen till the new set came out, so they could, like, have an idea of, like, what needs happening after the set drops, because, like, a week of practice before the two majors, that's kind of short notice. But that's me. I'm a little surprised by that, but I think I understand, kinda, because it's like, it's not just for, like, the high competitive play. I can see how these things are ruining the enjoyment of the game on a not casual level, but, like, more your grassroots level of, like, armories, pro quests, and stuff. Of these are just unfun things to play against, and the overall enjoyment of the game is important for the growth of the game. That's, like, what I think the intent of a lot of that was. Again, the whole meme of people quitting because Oldhim, I think that was a bit of an exaggeration, but, honestly, if you don't know how to beat fatigue strategies, these things can be very annoying to play against. But that's, like, my biggest takeaway from the whole thing. I'm surprised that it happened. I can understand why. I'm very happy about the Belittle ban. I've been very vocal about the fact that I think that card needs to go. Other than that, I really wish that it was Crown that was banned instead of Hammer, but banning Hammer effectively nerfs Crown enough that it's probably fine for a while. It's just one of those cards that, like, is still going to be a problem moving into the future. It's one of those, like, it's always going to be there kind of cards in the back of your head of, does this affect things negatively? Very surprised about the Amulet ban. Hypothermia makes sense, as that really makes it so a lot of decks just, like, can't play in the format. Like, Briar and Dash have such a hard time playing against that. Like, there is counterplay, but it's so few and far between. Like, you have to exactly have a high octane set on the same turn that they have a Hypothermia, and you preemptively play high octane. Well, they could still just save the Hypothermia for next round, theoretically. So it's like, it's like technically counterplay. It just feels bad, that, like, playing against that card. So I can understand why that one went. A little surprised that they went with, like, a different banless approach than what they went with Blitz, or at least that they didn't, like, adjust Blitz to be the same thing, where it's like, okay, we went with Winter's Wail and CC, let's also do Winter's Wail and Blitz and Unban Crown, something like that, just to be consistent. It's a little weird to me, but I don't disagree with this. I don't disagree with these ban list choices in general. It's just surprising, that's all. Yeah, like, impact on the meta. Definitely a big shakeup. I think that, obviously, the ice decks are significantly weaker now. The core gameplay loop of Oldhim is hurt quite a bit by losing Winter's Wail, but it's still a viable deck. I don't think Icelander was hurt that significantly by this. It definitely means that, like, decks like Briar and Dash got a lot better, and there's some more play there in those matchups, but I still think that Icelander is a very good deck and a very good choice, and we'll still probably see a lot of the best players in the game running Icelander. I think Lexi got quite a bit better from this too. Weirdly, because, like, she technically lost cards from this, but it's like one of those, like, net positive things of, like, if Oldhim is weaker or potentially pushed out of the format a bit, where you can, like, kind of calculate how many times you're going to face an Oldhim in Swiss, and you're like, okay, this is acceptable that I'm not going to face it that many times, and it's still, like, a better chance of winning. It means that Lexi has a bit more room to come to the format. I don't know if she'll necessarily be good right now, but, like, there is that she is better from this. It's just a question of how much better. She like there's a world where she's now the premier ice control deck. That world exists. I don't know if we're living in that world, but like that's a thought. Fi definitely got a lot worse from the little ban. The these ice decks got worse, but now Fi can't just like straight up ignore the interaction of the ice decks half the time. Where you're like, nice Channel Lake Frigid. I have 6 mana to play off of this turn. I'm just gonna ignore you and just keep doing my thing. That's like a huge nerf to the deck. I think Fi is still a very playable deck. It's probably still one of the best aggro decks in the game, but it definitely lost a lot of win percentage into the ice decks because of that. Specifically Icelander. I think Icelander's the big one there of that matchup of like it being like maybe relatively close before to probably more Icelander favored now. We'll have to see. Can always see adjustments in the list. Like they could just put more blues in the deck, but then that hurts other matchups. We'll have to see. I'm not sure on that. I'm not a Fi person myself. I think Viserai, kind of same idea of Briar, got a bit better, but I don't necessarily think it got better enough. These ice decks still exist. Like, I think the Vis versus Icelander matchup is still just cursed, so not really a good reason to play that versus Briar. I think Dory and Bravo also got a little bit better, but not, like, noteworthy better. Like, there's a world where you play Bravo instead of Oldhim because you care more about the proactive interaction than anything that Oldhim can do, of just, like, beating them in the face. And, one of Dory's worst matchups is weaker, so that definitely helps her. But is she in a good place? Probably not. That does exist where, like, she did get a little bit better. But that's my general thoughts on the format. I do think that Dromai's in a weird place, too, where she, like, didn't lose anything, but some of her most favorable matchups are in a worse spot in the meta. So maybe, like, the decks that she's trying to farm are less prevalent. But then again, Fi got worse. But that probably didn't, like, significantly change that matchup. It's just, like, maybe there's less Fis that you see during Swiss. I don't know. Dromai's in, like, a weird spot of, like, it's just, like, a deck that you're always trying to target a meta a lot of the times with, I think. So it's going to be kind of a where does meta fall, how good is she type of thing. But it is nice that she didn't lose anything. Like, she's still a very good deck. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I'm curious to see what you guys think. What do you guys think is going to be the new meta going forward for the 2 callings coming up? And thank you so much for the support.